Believe we are going live. It is now streaming. Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. Just doing a couple things to get this record. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Hi, this is Teresa. I am live in Healthy Habits by Design. I'm bringing up another screen so I can kind of make sure I can see who's here as well. There we go. So let me know if you're here and joining us. I'd love to say hi to you. And if you have questions or anything like that, that pop up as we go. So today is Monday, September 28th, and this is the first live in the Healthy Habits by Design group. And what I'm going to talk about today is what I'd like to start off. And so I know that a number of you guys are going to be watching the recording. So I'm all set for that as well. And look forward to hearing your guys like say hi when you watch the recording and comment, and love to interact with you there as well. So, but if you're on right now, say hi so I know that you're here. That would be awesome. And look forward to connecting because I'm doing this through Zoom. And anyway, all good. We have done a lot of work around this technology and figuring it out. So, however, there's still a learning curve, which is all good. All right. So I was interested in this topic because a little bit just for my own reasons as well. After having a baby in December, and having a C-section and, just recovering, whether you had a C-section or not, truthfully, like having a baby and recovering and like developing a whole new lifestyle around taking care of a baby, like kind of has your habits perhaps that you had in the past kind of go upside down. And so that is kind of inspired my own exploration of, okay, well, what's next? What kind of habits do I want to create? And what does that now look like for me? And so whether you've had a baby or some kind of transition in your life or something that's occurred that's like, oh, now I need to create some new ones, or just if you're dealing with life in a global pandemic and our lifestyle has shifted so much, like, okay, what does that look like now? There's something new to be created in terms of our lifestyle and our habits. I think with this new kind of pace or new, life just looks a little bit different, right? So so let me know kind of as you're watching this, and would love like some comments about what is there a transition in your life, or is there a reason in particular that like has inspired you to kind of take a look at your habits and say, okay, is there something new that I want to create here? So that's a question that I'm asking here. And I know some of you actually, and I so appreciate that, responded to the welcome post and said, shared a bit about where you were at and your life, and, kind of said some different things there. And so I really appreciate your contributions and learning where you guys are at and what you're working on. Okay, so what I want to share with you today is a document, and I'll keep this available I'll post this as well on our Facebook group so you can take a look at it. But this is here we go, our Healthy Habits Roadmap. I'm going to share my screen. So hang here for just a second. Okay, good. All right. Oh, where'd it go? Just a moment. Resume share. There it is. Okay. All right, the Healthy Habits Roadmap. So what I'm looking at here is like, what does it really look like to create healthy habits? What goes into having habits and having them stick and be sustainable and become a part of who you are. So this is me answering this question. And I took a lot of this information from the book, The Power of Habit. I read that book. Sam Jones was an inspiration to me around that. He read that and started to really alter some habits in his life. And I was like, wow, that's really cool how you're being so successful in this, and wanted to learn a little bit more about the science behind it and how it's like working inside of me, right? And so that's where that, if you haven't read The Power of Habit, take a look at it. I think it's just a really cool book. And I will reference it as well here. So here's Charles Duhigg, it's the author, and this is a quote from him. If you believe you can change, if you make it a habit, the change becomes real. This is the real power of habit, the insight that your habits are what you choose them to be. So that last piece, I think really speaks to me. This is the real power of habit, the insight that your habits are what you choose them to be, that we can create habits that we choose, not just automatic and kind of operate. So this is an opportunity, this group, this discussion, this conversation is a place to say, what are the habits that I really actually want, and create them to be aligned with the body and the health that I really want in my life. Okay, so now what are the steps to choose and create these habits, right? So here's what I have to say about that. So first is to create. What do you really want your health to look like? So I have a workbook that I've created around creating and like visioning and creating a vision board. So I'll share that at one of my Facebook Lives and go through all of that. But also just right now, whether you do that particular work or not, it's a good question, right? What do I really want my health to look like? Like some of us kind of just, or I think the default is just to operate like, oh, it is what it is, and here's my life, and I just kind of go through that, versus like, okay, well, what do I really want to create for my health and my life? Let's envision that, let's get connected to that, and then bring some awareness to, am I taking the actions that move that forward, right? So that's the next step. What are the habits that you need to fulfill on what it is that you want to create? So in these conversations coming up as well, I call this like design, healthy habits by design, right? Design, what kind of design would it take to fulfill on what you want to create? So in some of the Facebook Lives coming up as well, talk about what kind of design, what do habits look like to produce the result that you want? For example, okay, what kind of movement actually produces the result that you want in your life that you are connected to creating? What kind of nutrition creates the result that you want? And that's like, we can deep dive into so many micro details around that. So we can have a conversation as deep as you'd like to go in that. Supplementation, that's a big piece of something that I find value in, and I'll share some aspects of that as well. So beyond that, I have a whole bunch of other habits that we'll deep dive into, like sleep, morning routine. What else? I'm thinking off the top of my head. Oh gosh. Creating purpose, clearing spaces, so many different healthy habits that we'll deep dive into and take a deeper look at what those actually look like and how to create results in that particular habit and what that would, how that reflects back into your life. So those are like our habit deep dives, are those different topics. I'll share a little bit more around that as well, so you can know what I'm talking about. And then the third aspect of kind of looking at habits overall is then implementing, creating new habits. So some habits might be working really well for you. Like I have a lot of health habits that work really well for me. They're ingrained, they're automatic, they have a significant reward for me when I do them in my life. Like I'm present to all of that. And there are some habits that don't work for me, or in a sense, they work for me because I get something out of them because I keep doing them, right? But they don't fulfill on what I really want to create for my health. So those are habits that we're like redesigning, creating newly. So to understand that, we need to look at what is the science of habits. I'm going to flip this over to hi, Jude. I got a like from you. Awesome. Cool. I'm working on my screen to see who's commenting or liking. And anyway, we're figuring it out. I love that you guys are here and participating with me. So thank you. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about the science of habits, because I think this piece is really interesting. So I'm going to start here. I'm flipping over to this other document called The Science of Habits. And these different tabs here are, and I'll make sure I share this document with you guys too, so you can see it fully. These are the chapters of The Power of Habit and the different things that I took away from each chapter and understanding. So the first chapter in The Power of Habit is understanding the habit loop. Okay, so how does a habit work? Well, we have this cue, and then we do this routine, and then we get a reward for doing the routine, and it becomes automatic. And the reason there's like an automatic nature to it is so that our brain doesn't have to be so big to remember all the details all the time, and so that a baby can fit through the birth canal, which I appreciate. So for example, like we learn how to back up our car, right? Like we go in reverse, back up a car out of the driveway. In the beginning, that took a lot of mental energy, right? When we were learning how to do that when we were 16. However, now it's pretty automatic. If we had to remember every single task at the level of when we learned to do it in the first place, the amount of like brain space we would need to do our life would be huge, right? So that's what the point of habits is. Like they're an automatic thing that occurs, so that to save brain space in a sense, right? So that's the kind of the science aspect of it. I mean, there's more to it, right? But that's like one level of it. Okay. And so understanding a little bit further, a cue is a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. Routine is the actual like physical, mental, or emotional habit or action that's occurring. And the reward is kind of answers this question for us. Is this worth remembering for the future? Is this something that's good? Learning how to back out the driveway, there's a reward for learning how to do that, so I don't crash into things, right? Is there a reward for exercising? What is that reward? So for some people, it could be like, this is where like in the area of healthy habits comes in. The reward could be like in the how the experience is set up, in the sense that for self-imposed, like I'm looking down here at number 2, the craving brain, self-imposed exercise, and then you buy a smoothie. So you created an experience of a reward for exercising outside of the exercise inherent itself. Or the reward could come from the thing itself, like, oh, I get endorphins from exercising. This is a reward that I start to crave or enjoy, want more of. It could also be, as far as exercise, there's a lot of things that we can talk about in this area, but it could be social reward, socially for exercising, as in like I enjoy being around the people that I'm around when I exercise. Or it could be like the reward of the body and how it works and how it feels after the fact, maybe not always in the moment. Like, am I enjoying the exercise itself? One way to create a habit around exercise is to enjoy exercise, right? And find exercise that you enjoy in the moment. But also there could be a reward of, oh, I'm getting the results that I want for my life. Okay, then that's a way to create a reward too. So that's what I mean about reward. All right, I'm gonna flip back over here to go a little bit deeper into this habits roadmap. So that's where I mean by, okay, understanding the science of habit. Identify the routine. What's the habit? Experiment with the reward, meaning like, okay, let's say we want to create a new habit. we have to understand what kind of reward we want to create for ourselves, or what kind of reward is the habit that's already there providing. So what's a new reward, or how can we alter the routine to create a similar reward for ourselves? Definitely more to talk about there, but that's this essence of that. Isolate the cue. What is the what's triggering the habit to take place in the first place? Is it time? Is it how I feel? Or like time of day? Is it how I'm feeling? Is it, yeah, like what's the cue? There are a number of cues that could occur. Do I have a plan in place to then alter my habit? Do I have a belief that I can do it? Creating community support. That's part of, I think, what we're doing here is creating a community of people around creating new habits, empowering you around doing that. And do I have a plan for breakdowns? Like breakdowns as in, I went to go and create this new habit and it's not working and I keep like messing up around this, or I keep getting stuck or whatever. Okay, well, what is a plan that I can have in place when I get stopped in this area? Okay. So here's where I break down these steps of implementation around creating new habits to a higher level. So breaking down, identifying the routine. So what's the habit I want to create? Experimenting with rewards. So use this to identify what reward you are actually craving. Try different routines and reflect on your experience. Does it fulfill on your craving? What's the actual reward you're craving? So meaning like where we're going to start from in this whole conversation is really, what do you really want in terms of your health? Not the habits necessarily at first, but what do you want in terms of your health? And then the next question is, well, what habits are working to fulfill on that level of health that you want? And what habits are not working? Okay, so once we start there, then we can take a look at redesigning those habits. So this is where we're getting in here. How do you redesign habits? Well, what's the habit? Is it the routine perhaps that you want to alter? What's the habit? What are the reward? Then we have to identify what the reward is so that we can work with it to create a new habit that will fulfill on the same reward. That's what that's about. Isolating the cue. Okay, well, what triggers this habit to occur? Now that you can figure out, kind of start to understand, okay, how is this habit working? What's a cue, routine, reward? Then we can create a new plan. Now that you have identified that habit, the aspects of it, what's your plan to practice a new habit? How can you, or what can you do to remind yourself of this new plan? Another aspect of creating new habits is believing that you can. How would shifting this habit and getting different results actually impact your life? Is it worth it? What would that make available? Like starting to tap in to my belief. Is it worth it to shift this habit and connect with that? I think that's what starts to get at the core of belief. And do I believe, can I do it? Do I believe that I can? If not, what would shift the story that I have about myself such that I see that it's possible for myself? So that's a conversation that we'll talk about in our Facebook Lives as well. Do I believe that I can shift my habits? Creating community support, a question that we'll bring in is like, how can I use my community as a resource? And would that support me? And then our plan for breakdowns. What are scenarios where your new habit would break down? What can you put in place to keep this new habit in place? Write out some different scenarios of how you could get off track and what you're going to do in the face of them. So this is our habits roadmap. These are the different aspects of combining the science of habits, understanding our mindset, and really thinking about and bringing awareness to what do we actually want to create in terms of our health and the habits that then we need to take or develop to fulfill on that. I know that like kind of a once overview, I hope that this starts to make sense, but ask me questions and kind of ask for clarity, perhaps. If it doesn't, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. And in the meantime, the questions again to ask this week are, what do you really want in terms of your health? What habits are working? And what habits are not working? And then we can start to deep dive into how to redesign those habits with these distinctions and steps. Create, design, implement, and the steps of implementation around creating new habits. So that is where I'm going to start today in our Healthy Habits by Design. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. Please remember, let me know if you did, and comment and say hi, so that I know kind of where you're at in the conversation. And let's see, I'm just thinking if there's anything else right now. I look forward to just working with you guys as we kind of go through this process and continue to learn about habits and creating new ones in our life and creating community support around it. So, okay, I think that's it for right now. I'm signing off. Thank you guys. I will see you live next Monday, and look for posts and things this week in this group. Okay, bye. All right, now I gotta turn off our Zoom, right? There we go. Okay, bye.